everyone, and welcome back to the Happy Investor podcast. And today I'm joined by Matt Hall. So welcome, Matt. How are you?
I'm really good. I think you're amazing. It's exciting that you're doing this podcast and it's great to be here. So I'm excited to have a good chat.
Thank you for coming on. Now, do you remember when we first met?
Well, yeah, we were in Ibiza.
Yeah, but
It
you
was,
were not happy.
God, tell me what I'd have done that day.
So we met last year at the Ibiza retreat hosted by Tanya, but you were a bit grumpy because you had no clothes.
It was so
Do you
I just,
remember?
yeah, of course I remember. Literally, I still have sleepless nights. I don't really, I'm being dramatic. Yeah, I had just flown from Malta to Ibiza, I think via Barcelona. So I'd been at another business retreat and then I was coming over to Tanya's retreat. And in that changeover, um, they just decided not to give me any of my clothes. And also, because I'd been at a retreat for the week, I put my most comfiest, least cool clothes on ever. I think I was in joggers or something like that. And all I had with me was the clothes on my back. Nothing else, no toiletries, nothing. And I think I got my suitcase on the final day of the retreat as
Yeah.
we were leaving. So I spent obviously every day you're hoping it will arrive. So I spent every morning walking to, what was it, bloody All Saints or whatever it was. Whatever shop
Zara,
it was.
maybe?
Zara, it was Zara, that was it. Every day walking 20 minutes to Zara to buy that day's clothes. It
Yeah.
was
We were like, what's
so,
Matt going to wear today? And
and
then
it
when
was never
the
stuff
suitcase
I'd have really
finally arrived,
picked.
we were like,
Yeah.
yes.
I know, and then we left, so it wasn't that useful. But yeah,
It was a
but
journey.
that aside, literally a life-changing week. It was amazing. Not just because I learned I can survive without my case, but the stuff we did, the money mindset stuff, it was literally transformational. And obviously, as always with these things, the people that we met, it was so lovely meeting you.
It was so good. So let's get straight into that.
Let's do it.
Matt, for people who don't know you, can you run us through all the businesses you've had? From
Okay.
start to finish to where you are today. We want to know what you've
We'll
been
do
up
the
to.
short story. So I started my first business when I was 19. I was not the stereotypical entrepreneurial kid with the lemonade stand at 11, coming up with ideas. None of that. I just wanted to be an actor, really. I just loved performing from as long as I can remember. I think my parents realized I was different because I was an only child, so I had no siblings or anything like that to compare against. When they took me to the pantomime, I think I was about 2, and I stood on the chair for the entire thing. I just wanted to be on stage. And then when I think a bit later, I had some friends round. I was a bit older, and we was watching, I think, like a Batman film or something, and all the other kids sat and watched it, whereas I was jumping from sofa to sofa, being Batman and
Yeah.
reenacting it all out. So as long as I remember, I just wanted to act. I wanted to perform. I wanted to entertain. And yeah, when I was 17, I joined to take that tribute band. At the time, I'd been acting. Yeah, it was great. I'd been acting, I'd been on TV and done some acting roles and things like that. Joined this band, and basically, the manager was just a knob. He just wasn't a nice guy. He led through fear. He used to
Mm.
take the mick out of us. Like that was he was quite controlling. He just wasn't a nice guy. And what I did know is we had a great band. Like we really cared about attention to detail. We wanted to be the best in the industry. And so it got to this point where we just didn't want to work with him anymore. And I just said to the lads, like, how do you feel if I've got some savings, I'm living at my parents', how would you feel if I just bought us some speakers and I set up a business and I managed us? And the lads were like, yes. They weren't interested in starting businesses or who was the boss or whatever. They just didn't want to work with somebody who was horrible.
Mm.
And that was the beginning of a business. So I literally, at 19 years old, knew nothing about business, knew nothing about managing people or anything. And what I did have was naive ambition and
Yes.
a mindset of I'll figure it out. And so what that led to was really tough years in business because I was now both performing in the band in the weekends and traveling all over and late nights and all the rest of it, but then spending the whole week trying to get us bookings and
Yeah.
learning about marketing, Google ads, SEO, sales, all this stuff. And I think it's easy to forget because this is now 16 years ago this year. We forget, like back then, I didn't know of like mentors or coaches or even podcasts or YouTube courses or anything.
Yeah.
And I had nobody in my family that was entrepreneurial. Like my dad was in the fire service, my mum a mobile hairdresser. So it really was learning through doing and learning the hard way. And I would say the first 7 years or so was awful, actually. I was constantly exhausted. I was constantly tired. I suddenly had to take on staff where they were like twice my age and I didn't know how to be a boss. I was like, I'm not your boss. Like, what? But I had to be. I had to figure out. I trusted the wrong people. I had people steal from me and lie to us and all the stuff. But I never quit. And because of that, I learned so much. So fast forward today, this year's now been, I think this will be my 7th year coaching people in business, having a podcast, doing the online stuff. And the biggest stuff I love helping people with now is finding easy ways to make money in business. I think a lot of us, just like I did, we start a business because based on all we know. And I think so you get hairdressers that start a hair salon or personal trainers that start a gym or open a gym or and what often happens is we find it's not the right business model for us. And there's much easier ways to make money. That's now what I try and help people with is just cut out the years of pain as best as
Yeah.
I can so that they can make money in an easy way.
Amazing. I love that. And that really resonated with me because when I started my first business, which just happened to be a scuba diving resort in Indonesia,
Of course.
it was very much like, yeah, I can do this. And I was literally making it up as I went along marketing, sales, looking after customers, taking on staff. You're literally making it
Wildfires.
up, aren't you? Yeah, wildfires, tsunami warnings, all the stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't know what you don't know, right? And it's really interesting that you talked about getting mentors and coaches in because they can just see the big picture. Like that's what we do for other people now. We're like, well, look at this and look at this. So when do you think is the right time to actually go and get a coach or go and get a mentor? Because when you're a small business, every cost is, mad for your cash flow, isn't it? But
Yeah.
then as soon as you invest, you can get an amazing ROI.
100%. It's one of those things. There's many ways to get mentors as well. Like people like you and I, we put out free content every single day. So there is ways that you can still get support, which again, I didn't really have back then. I remember probably a year into my business, I saw in a bookstore there was Duncan Bannatyne's one of his books, and I was like, oh, it like clicked for me. I was like, that's a guy who's on TV talking about business, and he's got a book about business. Oh, maybe I can learn from him. But I was like a year into my business probably at the time, but that was still mentoring because I was learning from his experience of business, and it was like what 10 quid or whatever. And now we have so much information on YouTube, podcasts, social media. So look, if you're determined and if you want to make this work, you can get information and you can get mentoring without having to pay lots of money. That to one side, though, what I would say is the sooner the better. And that's not just mentoring, that's just investing in general. There's something that I've said quite a lot, which is the real upside to the online world is it's meant the barrier to entry, if you want to start a business, is on the floor. Like it's
Yeah.
so easy now to start a business. And that's amazing. And I have to say, like, I'm so pleased because now it doesn't matter where you come from or your background or anything. As long as you're determined, you've got passion, vision, work ethic, and you're willing to do what it takes, anybody can start with £0. The flip side to that, the negative side, is I think what we've done is we are breeding and have bred entitled business owners that they're like, well, I post every day on social media and I've not gone viral and I'm not making money. And just go back, like when I was starting, nobody thought they could start a company without investing in marketing and maybe investing in property or whatever. Like we had premises and we had vans and we had speakers and costumes and lighting, and we had to invest thousands. I literally put my life saving, and obviously I was really lucky that I was living at home as a 19-year-old, and I get that caveat. But the point is, from the dawn of time that business first began, everybody understood you have to invest in your marketing and you have to invest in your team and support to get a return. So I know it's scary when you think, oh my gosh, this business isn't making money yet. But really, I think some of the best advice is like that chicken and egg scenario. It's like you will start making the money you want when you invest in the right people to help you make it. And whether that be team, mentoring, or a combination, assistants, things like that, the sooner you invest. And just a quick story on that. When I started, well, in the early days of my business, I did get a business partner, and it's really funny because obviously I was really young, and I think at the time he would have been 25, 26. In my mind, he was really old.
Yeah.
And, like, he had his own house, he was getting married, he also had another business, his family had businesses, so to me, he was like this guru. That was one of my
Mm.
first mentors in a way. But really, he was quite young and figuring stuff out, and he gave me some of the worst advice you could give. I remember saying to him, I was like, "I think we need to bring on a staff member or something because it's too much work, like, what's going on here?" And his advice was, "Yeah, but" I think at the time we was considering it, it would have been a 2 grand a month investment to kind of bring somebody in. And he said, "But that's an extra £1,000 each we could have if we just work a bit harder."
Wow.
And that is the worst advice
Yeah.
because I'm like, so then obviously that relationship ended. I had to buy him out. It was very costly. But the minute I employed people is the minute the business started to grow, when we got support and we got help.
It's so interesting, isn't it? I mean, this podcast is called The Happy Investor, and we talk a lot about the different things you can invest in: property, businesses, gold, assets, things like that. But I think the number one thing to invest in is yourself. And I've spent thousands on courses, tours, like mastermind. I love a mastermind.
I
Do
love a
you?
good mastermind. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, we just literally did ours last night, and I am
yeah,
still buzzing from that. That power
yeah.
of being around other people,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's incredible, especially when they're at the same level as you or a bit above you and you're learning from each other and you're like marketing for each other and amplifying each other. It's amazing. So, what have you invested in? What's been the most important thing to you personally in the last few years?
In the last few years, so a year ago, I went to another business retreat in LA, and it was Lisa Johnson's retreat. That one retreat was like the catalyst to me meeting so many great people. I mean, it's what's led me to you because I met Tanya through Lisa. I then met
Yeah.
you through Tanya. Like, if I was to break it all down, a lot of the network I have today stems from that one retreat. And what's interesting is that was nearly £10,000 for, I think it was a 3-day retreat, and people would
Wow.
be like, "What the hell?" That's
Yeah.
not just for the retreat, let me be clear, when I think of the investment of the retreat, the flights to America and back
Mm.
and the accommodation, it came to about 10 grand for 3 days. And people, especially from where I'm from up north, like I live in Bradford, people are like, "What the bloody hell are you spending that money on?" and all
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But the return, I don't even know the exact figure, and it will continue to bring a return year after year because of the relationships that I made, and I think, like, people can think, well, not everybody's got 10 grand for those 3 days, but this has been, as I say, 16 years this year of
Mhm.
me constantly one of the things I've always done, and actually this is something I'm having to learn, doesn't always serve me, but it has definitely served me in many ways. Whenever I make money, I don't then give it to myself and improve my lifestyle. I reinvest it
Yeah.
always, and again, there's a maturing and evolution of how I think about that today that's happening. But if I look at me at 19, a trait is just keep reinvesting. How can we improve? How can we learn? How can we make things better? I've reinvested, and that's what happened. Is it got me to a place where I could invest in that. So I was learning about launching pretty much just from what I was seeing other people doing and courses that I'd done and so on. And so I did a launch, and we'd set some targets. We were launching an online course, and I was like, if I can get, I think it was something like, once we hit 30 grand in revenue, I'll feel comfortable that I'll have the budget there to reinvest and go. It was like the following week that this retreat was happening in LA. I was like, I'll invest and I'll go. Um, and we did. We actually, that launch, we did just short of 42,000. So once I knew, I'd hit the amount, I rang. I ended up speaking to Lisa. I was like, "Is there still space?" And she's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
we can do this." And it was so last minute. And actually, I think I closed the cart for that launch on the Sunday night. Did the whole welcome everybody, did a live video, got everybody in. It was like midnight. I then packed my case, got in the car, drove from Bradford to London to the airport through the night, and got on a plane and went to the retreat.
What a week.
And then that following week completely changed my life. But like, I guess if you want to call it, the moral of the story here is I'd done a lot of work to make that money, and the minute I made it, within seconds, I'd reinvested nearly
Yeah,
10,000 to go again. But yeah, to your point, to your question, I've invested in everything. Many, I've done probably every course on earth at this point. I've had multiple one-to-one mentors, masterminds, group programs, many retreats that I've invested in, lots of pay-to-play stuff where I've paid to sponsor things, speak on stages. Like, I have invested heavy, and let me like be clear. I did not like. We've not a family that's come from money. Like I say, dad a firefighter. Like really, I'm not saying like we were super poor, but really just normal, ordinary beginnings. But I had the mindset to work really bloody hard, and I had the mindset that when we start making money, it's not about buying Lamborghinis and looking cool. What can we reinvest to grow and go to the next level?
yeah, I love that. And you've spoken a little bit about the retreats and the masterminds and the coaching and stuff. I feel like you are king of visibility, or you have been ever since I met you.
Yeah.
What would be your top tips for visibility for people who've got their business, who want to get their message out there? What can we do to be more visible?
So, my first thing I would say is don't just rely on one thing to get visible. It can work, but you're kind of, if you was to hedge your bets, and my advice would be you want to think about multiple ways to get visible. So, when I say it can work, obviously there's people that have grown massive YouTube channels or huge TikToks or whatever, and they make a business out of that. But I think more than ever now, at the time of recording in 2026, with the advancements of the internet and artificial intelligence, there's going to be more fake stuff online than ever. And that means it's going to be harder to trust people than ever. So, how does it make it easier to trust us? That's how we need to be thinking. Well, have we met you in person? Have we seen you on a stage in real life and at events? And have you got a podcast I listen to every week? Like, the more layers you can have to your visibility strategy, the easier it is not just to get known, but to get trusted, which is even more important, arguably, because you can be known by everybody, but nobody trusts you. Nobody's going to buy from you, right? So, that's the first piece of advice is when you look at your strategy this year, is it weighted and too heavy on one thing? And if so, can we mix it up a little bit? So, for example, what you're referring to there, last year was my go all in on visibility year. And one of the goals was every single month, I want to make sure I go to at least one in person event. I smashed that goal. I think on average I was doing 7 or 8 a month. I literally because it was from that, I think it was April or May when I did the retreat, which was one of the in-person things, when I saw the power of that and then met so many people who also had events and masterminds, and I was like, "Wow, this works. I've got to go to as much as I physically can." So I would say definitely in person. Don't just do online. I would say definitely do multiple things. In terms of like hierarchy of like what's most beneficial, again, there's going to be no size fits all. There's going to be exceptions to rules, nuance, things like that. But when I get asked that question, I generally think first and foremost, like, have you got budget? If so, it's always going to be the pay to play stuff that's going to do better. But that to one side, if we look at then what's available to us, there's speaking on stages, speaking on podcasts, there's speaking in other people's memberships and communities and things like that. I would always say, actually, podcasts I would put a bit lower. I would say getting on the stages is up there as one of the best. If you can get speaking on the stage, and then sort of coupled with that, if you can speak on like Zoom calls and things where you're in masterminds or memberships, they're generally going to get a better return because if you just speak on a podcast, as people are listening to this now, quite often they'll be listening to it whilst they're cleaning or cooking, or they might be driving or in the gym. They're doing something else and they're just listening for a bit of inspiration and information. The chances of them taking action on that afterwards are a lot less than if they were watching me on stage,
Yeah.
notepad and pen in hand, and you've got that captive audience. Same with if you're talking to a membership. So I would say really do your research. What are the events where your ideal clients are going to? What are the memberships they're already paying to be a part of? And again, there's something in that. They're already be investing. They're not just listening to stuff for free. They're the things I would really do your research on and pitch and build relationships with the people who have those events and podcasts and try and get on as many stages and in as many communities as possible.
Yeah, I love that. And you are clearly very good at this. I've met you in Ibiza. I've seen you speak a couple of times. I've even seen you sing your way onto stage.
Stop it.
So you've got this amazing background of confidence and performing, but what if people are listening to this and they're like, "Oh, I'm a bit worried," or "It gives me the ick," or "I can't possibly get on a stage or even come and speak to someone else's membership." What tips have you got to bring that confidence?
Okay, first thing I would say on it is I'm shit scared every time I stand on stage. Every time. You'll probably see my face goes red. I get really nervous. And this is someone with a background in performing, right? So, and people will be surprised by that, but I think it's common. I think a lot of performers, singers, actors are really good because they're playing a character, like they're being somebody they're not. And so they step into that role. And actually, with this work that we do, when we're talking about our expertise and sharing our story and things like that, it can feel really vulnerable. You're sharing you. You're not being a character in a film. So that's why I get so nervous. So I think the first thing to acknowledge is it's totally normal, and even the people that are seemingly doing amazing and crushing it will still feel nervous. But I think you've got to ask yourself the question, like, if I could get good at it and I could get comfortable, would it help my brand? Would it help my business? And if the answer is yes, you have got to really put yourself in that uncomfortable position multiple times and really I think you can talk about loads of things about like mindset and inner work and all that, and I don't dispute there's value in a lot of that. And at the same time, one of the best things that will help you get more confident is just doing it scared many, many times. Tony Robbins says it best: repetition is the mother of mastery. You've just got to put in the reps. And first time you'll do it, you might be shit. The second time, you might be a little bit less shit. Third time, a little bit less. And it's like just being comfortable with going, like, as they say, every winner was once a beginner, every master was once a disaster. Like being comfortable
Love
with,
that.
like, nobody starts incredible, nobody starts amazing. So just embrace that and go, okay, I don't need to be amazing. The success here and the value here is doing it anyway. I often say to people, emotion plays an important part. And like we are human beings, we should learn to understand our emotions, be self aware, listen to emotion. But also, we sometimes have to learn to stop putting emotion on a pedestal, because if we only ever act how we feel, we're going to hold ourselves back. If we act how we feel, sometimes we'll feel tired, we'll feel nervous, we'll feel demotivated. Well, then you're going to act tired, act demotivated, act nervous. So what we have to sometimes do is go, irrespective of emotion, what's the action I need to take? And put the bloody action on a pedestal. Do it anyway. And over time, repetition, you'll start to get to a place where it's less weird. You become more comfortable. You become more confident because you're doing it. So that would be the thing. And I think the real thing I want to emphasize is speaking on stages and podcasts and so on is not for everybody. But the only way you find out if it is for you is not doing it once and going, that was awful, that was shit, or doing it 3 or 4 times. Do it 200 times. And if at that point you go, I'm still terrible, I still hate it, I'm still nervous, then you can go, let's look at a different way. I think people quit too soon and then they label themselves with an identity that it's not for me. And
Yeah.
actually, it might have been you just didn't do it for long enough.
Yeah. And I think that works for many, many things, not just speaking. Like lots of people start businesses, don't they? And then they get really excited and then it gets hard and they go, oh, not for me. But if you just
Right.
carry on through that dip, then they're the people. That's the whole practicing, that's the whole consistency thing, which I think is really key, isn't it?
The difference between the person who succeeds and fails is never the absence of challenge or obstacles or curveballs or getting things wrong or failing. That's not never the difference. Both the person who succeeds and the person that fails has all of that. The difference is how they choose to respond. Do they quit or do they just keep going anyway? One of the biggest reasons I do all right in business today is because it's been 16 years of not
Yeah.
quitting. Just
Yeah.
just that literal longevity of not saying, I've never given myself a backup plan. I've never ever given myself another option. When it's been crap, when cash flow's low, when I'm literally having to loan my own money and all the stuff I've been through, having people steal from me, I've never gone, and I've had it. I've had friends, I've had family going, Matt, why don't you don't have to do this. Just get a job. Or I've had that so many times. In my mind, I was like, if somebody else has succeeded, I can too. So
Yes.
there is a way, there is a solution. I just need to find it. I might not know it yet, but there is one out there, and that determination is why I'm still here.
I completely agree with that. I feel like you're echoing everything that I say to people as well. Like, if someone else can do it, we can definitely do it. It's been done before. We just need the steps to do it and to not give up. And someone said to me the other day, they're like, have you always been this confident? Like, how have you done it? And I just thought like it's the biggest challenges and it's the biggest obstacles that I've managed to find my way through that have given me confidence. Like now, if one of my tenants complains about the Wi-Fi, I'm like, mate, I dealt with a wildfire that could have
While
killed me, my family, and burned down my entire business.
yeah,
So
this is nothing.
perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, it could be anything. It could apply to anything, but I love that. Can we talk about launching?
please.
Because you, have done really well in the launches, haven't you? King of launches, and, it takes a lot, doesn't it? Like, it takes planning, it takes scheduling, it takes content, it takes, personal outreach. I launched my membership last year, and I felt like I was making it up as I was going along. I was following a bit of a timeline,
Okay.
and what we're talking about, if you're listening, is launching an online product, right? Because a lot of people might start a business and they're going to launch their online product, like, for example, an investing course. I might launch an investing course, or someone might be like my friend makes amazing cakes, and I'm always telling her you need to start an online business. So she could do like a baking course or something like that. So you've got this thing, but you don't want to be selling it all the time. You want to launch it. So you want to do a really big build up, and then you want to launch it, and then you want to make loads of money in that launch. And I think there are ways of doing it. Like you need to audience build to start with because you can't sell to no one. Then you need to nurture them. Then you need to do some kind of event with them to get them really excited, like a challenge. Then you need to deliver an amazing masterclass, and then you need to sell. So can you talk us through what a successful launch looks like if my friend wanted to do her baking course or whatever?
Absolutely. So I think you've got to start with the end in mind. So first and foremost, what do you want to get from this launch? Like how many people do you want to work with, whether it's a group program, whether it's a course, whether it's a membership, start with the target for the launch. And then we would reverse engineer it. So one thing that we know is, once the offer is right and the product's right, it just becomes a numbers game. So the rough kind of average conversion. So as you've spoke about there, what we do is we don't just go on Facebook and go, I've got a course. Does anyone want to buy it? And just like put it out there. We do a free launch event first. So that is where you give people the opportunity to try before they buy, work with you for free. It might be something like a workshop or a masterclass or a webinar or a multiple day challenge, like a 3-day challenge, 5-day challenge, something like that. But something where people get an experience, they get the beginning of a transformation, some kind of result. And then at the end of it, you go, listen, if you've loved this, this is the next step for some of you if you want that. Now, we know on average, when we look at conversions across the industry, it's around about 1 to 8% of people that sign up for that free launch event will actually buy. And a lot of people, they might get 30, 40 people and that do their free thing and only get one sale or no sales and think they've failed and they haven't. It's just like the conversion. You just need more people at the top of your funnel. So that's why I say start with the end in mind. Um, the other thing I say is we don't need to like make that the be all and end all because as you've said there's a lot of work that goes into launching. So obviously you've got to create the thing you're going to launch. You need to build the audience and make them aware of the free event. You've got to deliver the free event. You've then got to have the whole nurture sequence in your emails and all this stuff that needs to be set up. It's a lot of work, right? But do you know what? Like once you've done it once, it's a lot less work because you've already now created your template. You've already done, you've already got maybe the course. This is where it can become semi-passive. Is once you've created the course and you just launch it multiple times a year, all you got to do is the launch. You don't have to do the delivery necessarily, depending on what the offer is. So I say to a lot of my clients for this first launch, yes, we're going to focus on targets. Yes, we want to hit them. And at the same time, we're going to now redefine success of this first launch of not being whether we hit targets or not. Success is, did you do a launch? Full stop.
Yeah.
The end. That's it. That is a success for launch one, because you will have created all your marketing material. You'll have got all your email nurture sequences. You'll have seen how it feels to do a launch. You'll have got feedback from that launch, whether people buy or not, which then means you can learn from that and tweak and test. And that is the first step to doing successful launches, is just doing a launch. And hopefully what that does is just immediately remove some pressure from people from going, oh, what if it flops and it fails? Well,
Um,
if you do it, you've succeeded. There is no
yeah.
failure, right? So I think that's the first thing, is just kind of like the approach, the mindset, the attitude to the launch has to be right first. And that's what I recommend to people. Um, that to one side. One thing I would just give as a quick tip about what's working with launching is, number one, making sure your offer is what I call a hybrid offer. So if you want to do some of those bigger launches, obviously there's various different things we can launch, but if we're talking about those launches that do hundreds of thousands of pounds and things like that, your offer can't just be, I mean, it can, but you're going to struggle, just like a pre-recorded course or something. You are going to struggle, because I think people want more these days. People have done courses and not got results. So the reason I call it a hybrid offer is you want to think of things like, can you do some kind of live support? Can there be accountability? Can there be community? Can you maybe bring in other guest experts to teach them on other things? Can there be an element of done for you or done with you, or templates or resources? So that is one thing I would say is, we have to work harder for the business. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it makes the industry level up. I think the charlatans and all the shit houses, they
Yeah.
will lose them, and the people who are still here will improve the quality of what they're doing. So I think your offer needs to be really well thought out, and I also think your free event, your free launch event, can't just be surface level, just give them a bit of something
Yeah.
and then pitch. You have to really over deliver, and that is one thing, if I do say so myself, that I know from our feedback we get really right, is people, and I say to my clients, your objective with this launch is not all about the money and how many people buy. It's, if anybody gives you their most important asset, which is their time, they need to leave that experience going, that was worth my time. Regardless of whether they buy from you or not, they need to go, that helped me. I learned something. I did something because of that. That is your objective. And I think, so that's just some advice I want to give people, is really take your time and put in that extra effort with stuff.
Yeah. And can we also talk about how tiring and stressful it could be doing your first launch? You have really nicely taken away all the stress, because you're like, let's just build it. Let's just get it all in place to do the successful launch. And then next time it'll run in the background for you. But when I did my first launch just over a year ago, it was like all the building stuff. Okay, I've got it ready, but then delivering it and then just hoping. And I was exhausted afterwards.
Yeah, it's a lot. And so that's why we've just recently released our done for you/with you package. So now, if you want to work with me, the only way you can work with me as a one-to-one strategist now is this package. But it's not just me, it's my team. So I'll be your strategist and I'll be there to support you. But you get, I think there's 6 of us in total you'll be working with, including like helping you with your meta ads and setting that up for you and running it for all your tech, your build, your opt-in page, your sales page, your email nurture sequences written for you, uploaded for you. Like, we're doing everything. It's a full-on
Yeah.
package. So for those that are in a position where they're like, they might already be doing well in business, but this launching thing, they can see the value in doing it, but they're like, ugh, it's a lot of work. Basically, get in touch. We'll do it for you. But that to one side, like, because not everybody's in a place to invest in having a whole team do a launch for them and things like that. I think one tip I'll give people is, don't underestimate, especially those first couple of launches, like what goes into it. So be sensible. Number one, pick dates that make sense for you. So a lot of people always ask me, when's the best time in the year to launch? And obviously we can look at things seasonally and be like, well, from an attitude and a mindset point of view, a lot of people go into September like they've had summer, they've had a break, and now they want to come and get back into things, learn new things. So that can work. January is a similar time where people are like, new year, new me, this is my year. But actually, there's always counterpoints, like, because what that means is just about everybody's launching something
Yeah.
in September, October. Like, we did one of our most successful launches in, I think it was June or July, when it was like the summer holidays, and everybody says don't launch then, and we still had our most successful launch. So I think, you know, Really, I don't want people to worry too much about the perfect time for the market. If you're good and there's a need for what you do, any time can work. But what's more important is when is the best time for you? When you look at your diary and what you've got planned, my advice is do it then, like when there's the most time, and be disciplined and strict about not taking on extra work when you do that launch period. So if we look at a rough strategy timeline, you want to be advertising your free launch event around about 2 weeks before that free launch event. Anything more than that, it's too far in the distance. People sign up, they forget about it, and they don't show up. Anything less than that, it's not enough time. So it's about 2 weeks of heavy promoting on the free thing. Then you've got the week of the free thing. And then you've got the cart open, cart closed period. So the opportunity for people to buy, the window of, where people can buy. And that's usually it can be 5 days to about 10, 14 days max, I would say. So, that's like best part of 6 weeks of like going
Mm.
all in on delivering. And in particular, when it's like the delivering and the cart open period, like my advice would be try and keep your diary as full, sorry, not full,
Yeah.
as free as possible.
Yeah.
Because you're right, it takes a lot of energy, and that energy has to stay high until that cart closes. And then when the cart closes, you need to deliver as well, and you
Yeah.
need to welcome people in. So I think the people who do best in launches, they treat it like a really important event, and it's the first priority, and everything else they take out the diary. I think when you're trying to do it on top of also you've got a full-time job and you're doing a million things with the kids are off and it's the summer holidays and they need your attention, and you've got loads of one-to-one clients, you're gonna really struggle. It's not that it's impossible, it's just gonna be a lot harder.
Yeah, block time out. That was gold. The last few minutes of what you said were absolute gold, Matt. So thank you for
Good.
that. So you said it's a numbers game. So, and you've done multiple launches, you know all the stats. So we know it's so important to get as many people into this free challenge or masterclass or webinar as possible. How do we do that? What are your top tips to getting as many people to the top of this funnel as possible?
So it's all the stuff we covered about having a visibility strategy anyway. So
So do a
constantly
year's worth of speaking first. Get
look,
yourself out there.
can be useful, but there's other ways to do it. So yeah, all the stuff like speaking, being on podcasts, creating your own content. YouTube is a big one we're doubling down on. There's all the stuff. Having your free lead magnets that you give to people to get them on your email list, and then having good quality emails that people want to open and want to read. There's all this stuff that we can be doing. Now, I don't want to overwhelm people if they're like newer on your journey. Like my advice would be pick one, get good at that for a bit, and then add in a second, and then add in a third, and just build over time. But when it comes to the actual launch, there is things that you can do even if you don't have a big audience. So you could look for affiliates. You could look for people that already have a good engaged audience that are your ideal client, that are perfect for this offer, and make them a great deal. Like, don't just go, oh, I'll give you 2% of any sales. Like, give them 40%, give them 50, like, especially if it's like there's an element of the course you can teach one to many. So it doesn't matter whether you have 5 people in it or 500 people in it. It's the same work for you, pretty much. Maybe a bit more admin. You can afford to give a good percent of that away, which then incentivizes them to want to share it with the audience. Now, caveat with that, I always say it has to be a win for 3 people. It has to be a win for you, has to be a win for the person who's going to promote it for you, and it has to be a win for their audience who are going to get involved. If it's not aligned, and also bigger audiences are not always the best. Sometimes it's somebody with a smaller audience, but a really good, engaged, loyal audience that love them. I've got friends who have got millions of followers and they've promoted stuff for me and we got nothing out of it. I've had others that have just a few thousand, but a really loyal audience, and we got loads
Yeah.
of signups out of it. So if you don't, yeah, and this is where again it comes full circle to what we were talking about getting in the rooms, getting to events, because it's like, how do you build relationships with these people that already have an audience? Well, you do it like we do when we were in Ibiza or I was in Malta, or like you meet these people at these events and retreats. So I guess there's some advice in that about don't just go to events where your ideal clients are, go to events where your peers are, the other people that are doing what you do or similar that would be great collaborators. So I think, yeah, I think that's in its own right a massive strategy is really identifying the people. The game that I get people to play is who's got my audience, like
Mm.
who has already built a community of your kind of people that are already investing in working with them. They're good people to partner with and build relationships with. And obviously the other one is if there's budget there is running ads. Like that's obviously if you've got a good ad campaign and you're good at creating ads, that's and again, it's a bit of a chicken and egg thing. When we talk about audience building, in my experience, we need an audience for good launches. But also, one of the best ways to get an audience is doing a launch. Like if you're,
Mm.
because as opposed to just giving a free lead magnet or whatever, and we can run ads on stuff like that. Usually people come in and it might be a PDF or a guide or a template or a little mini video or whatever. They're not really building a big relationship with you, the same as if you're doing a 5-day challenge and you go live every night. It's one of the best ways to bring people in and actually captivate them, whether they buy from you or not. It's a good audience builder. So yeah, aside from all the other stuff, I would say looking for collaborations, affiliates, and then if you can, ads can really help with getting that audience in for your launch.
I love all of this. So hopefully everyone's taken away so many golden nuggets now of don't just build something and pop it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Let's build something and let's be audience building and let's get our launch strategy done and get as many people in there as possible. So thank you so much for sharing that. So Matt, what does the rest of this year look like for you? What's your mission?
My mission is impacting as many people as I can in terms of helping them with semi-passive and recurring revenue. So semi-passive income, recurring revenue. And what that ultimately means is taking business owners from constantly trading time for money, constantly appearing successful on the outside because their diary is full with loads of one-to-one clients, but constantly exhausted because they have to show up and deliver all the time. When we can truly learn launching, when we can truly understand about how to create semi-passive income, passive income, recurring revenue, it changes your life. And so that's like my mission. That's the impact I want to have. But then if we flip that, it's like, how do I want to do that? And I'm learning a lot. And I think you have seasons in business and you have stages in business. And I think last year was my season of going really hard in terms of loads of visibility, getting to everything and all that kind of stuff. You know, this year is about simplifying stuff and it's about saying no to more things actually and being more intentional about what I say yes to and where is the ROI versus, you know, where is it a lot of energy, time, money, and not as much of an ROI. So, and a lot of it, and again, it's a lot more building team, more delegation, more support. So ultimately, in a nutshell, that's a long-winded way of saying we're going to have our most impact, make the most amount of money, and I'm going to work the least I've ever worked this year. That's what we're
Perfect.
doing. Um, that said, we are also, as you know, and I'm so grateful that you're going to be sponsoring our event. So we've got our event happening in April this year, and that is going to be a lot of work, and it is a lot of work already, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort, but one of the best ways to impact people. Um, it is a 2-day event. We have got some of the most incredible people that are going to be in the room, not just on the stage, but in the room as well. You know, speakers include Daniel Priestley, Scott Thomas. A lot of people will know Scott, who's got a really hilarious podcast with his brothers, Adam Thomas, Ryan Thomas. So we've got such a range of people. Um, that's a lot of bloody work. That is effort. And truthfully, I'll be really honest, I don't know if we'll do an event again. So I want to make this the biggest and the best and give as much value as I can. We're hoping to have about 500 people in the room over 2 days. So it's a
Wow.
great networking opportunity for people. So yeah, that's in April. That's probably the thing that will be one of the hardest things this year. Beyond that, I'm simplifying and I'm doing the stuff that is smart because there's a lot of ways to make money, but there's a lot of ways that are hard ways. I'm going to do the easier ways.
Good. And are we going to see you singing at the event?
No, sorry to disappoint, but no. Do you know that's had
It's
mixed.
what we want, Matt.
It's had mixed reviews. So I've had people say, like, that is your unique thing. And also, because with the Take That background, we were like an award-winning tribute band. We won awards multiple times. We were on the Graham Norton show with the real Take That. We were invited to like the press night of their musical and was at a party with Take That and Lulu and all that, Like,
Available in April?
what, Take That?
No, your boys. Bring the band back.
I I mean, they're more likely to be. I mean, no, actually, they're very they're very busy. So the band still goes, and I still manage the band. I just don't perform in it anymore. But yeah, they're called Rule the World, and they're very successful. Their diary is very, very. They're actually probably not available, to be honest. But yeah, we worked at a high level, and we did some cool stuff. So some people are like, that is such a unique selling point. It makes you different. You're good at what you do. Other people are like, it just makes a mockery. You're not a serious business coach if you come out singing Shine. So it's had really
Well,
mixed
they're not your
reviews.
people, Matt.
Maybe, maybe, but I see both points.
Do you still do anything musical now just for you, for fun?
I mean, I sing every day around the house,
Yeah.
and I do love it. I do love it. I think for me, performing got to a place where, again, coming back to what I just said, really, it was so much effort and work, so much traveling and long days, and people just see you on stage and go, "Wow!" Like one of our biggest gigs, we performed to 25,000 people at a festival in Germany. Um, like people see all that, but they don't see that it took us 16 hours to get there and
Yeah.
then 16 hours to get back because the client wouldn't pay for flights. And so, like the
Yeah.
actual lifestyle of it was exhausting at times. So I feel like I did it from 17 up until like last year, really. I still did the odd gig. I'd kind of left in 2019, but because it was my business, I'd still do some gigs. And I love the lads to pieces. I've so many amazing memories, and they're still some of my best mates, the lads in the band. But it really feels like I've closed that chapter, and it feels like I did it to death, and I did it
Yeah.
really well. But it's done for me now.
Nice. It's the Launch King now.
That's it. We're going all in on that.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to see you in April for your event. It's going to be amazing. And where can people find you if they want to learn more?
Instagram is the big one for me. Just add me on Instagram. The handle is at Matt Hall Official. And I always say when I do podcasts, literally do add me and drop me a little message and just say, listen to the episode with Sophie. And if there's anything with this that resonated, by the way, I'm not a big salesy person. I'm not going to be like, you're not going to then fall into some automated sales chat where I try and close you at the end. I'm just massive on building relationships. It might be that we could collaborate, support each other. It might be that I could end up buying from you. Like there's a million things it could become. Obviously, I have a membership with almost 300 people in there. We're always looking for speakers. We have events where we need speakers. Like there's many ways that relationship could blossom. But I do always encourage people, drop me a message and tell me you listen to this show, because I think so often we listen to episodes of podcasts one after another and we get loads of little nuggets, but we forget that's actually a contact we could build a relationship with. This is a way in. So do drop me a message. And you definitely, if you are a business owner that wants to connect in the room, you definitely need to consider getting into our room in April. It's in Leeds. It's the 13th and the 14th of April. 2-day event, as I say. There's a lot of opportunities to actually. One of the things I do differently with my event is we make sure there's at least one slot on stage on the main event, if you like, where we actively get the room to work. So one thing I notice about a lot of events is you go to these, you might have amazing speakers, but you just get exhausted from being spoken at. It's just one speaker after another telling you stuff. And you often leave these events with notepads full and then just loads of overwhelm, and you do very little with it. So we wanted to do better than that. And we didn't want you to just have these short networking breaks where it's like, quick, grab your sandwich, come back.
Yeah.
And like nobody actually has time for networking. So not only is there a networking party on the first night, where in the evening there's just going to be, we might have a band. I might sing at that. I'm not going to lie. We'll see. We'll see. But there's going to be a party, which is literally just a nice, fun opportunity to all have conversation. But in the main stage event, we always have a speaker that literally gets the room, gives them like an opportunity and like prompts to speak to each other, get a couple of people up on stage. Like we really want to put an emphasis on connection and building relationships, because I believe that's where business happens. So that sounds good. We do it in Leeds. It's at the Queen's Hotel. which is literally attached to the train station, so it couldn't be easy to get to if you're coming from London or whatever. And I would just ask people, please, 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 please do, if you can, get your tickets and come. I know it sounds like I'm begging now, and I just said I'm not salesy, but the reason I'm saying that is because events are one of the hardest things to put on. And that's why, like, my experience is there's not been many quality events in the north of England. They feel like they're always in London. You know, to get speakers like Daniel Priestley and so on, you feel like you always have to go to London or you have to go to America, like I've done so many times. And I've been trying to change that over the last few years and say, listen, we can do it well in the north as well, and we can bring that same caliber and the same opportunity. But if people don't support us, and that includes people from London coming to Leeds, just the same as we go to London, like if people don't make the effort to support these events, it's very hard to sustain them. So if you do, and if you don't want this to be my last one, and if you would like us to do more, you know, put your money where your mouth is. Come and invest in us. Come and support us. Come and be there. I promise. Like my pledge to you is, we'll do everything we can to make it one of the best business events of 2026, and we'd love to see you there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be there too.
You're there, so bloody hell, you've
I'll
got me
put the link
unspoken.
on this podcast, for the tickets. So we want everyone to message Matt, go find him on Instagram, tell him he has to sing at the event, and buy your ticket.
If enough of you buy tickets, I might just consider it.
Okay, done. All right. Thank you so much, Matt. Have a
Thank you.
great day. We love you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Sophie. Take care, everyone.